And when it comes down with cybersecurity, my personal mission is about putting the people before technology. Most of the time I see people thinking about great technology solutions, great cybersecurity controls, measures, only when I talk about with the people, like for example you engineers. They don't understand why they have to use it, or they see it as a burden. And that's unfortunate, and I want to change that. How I'm going to do that is making sure I understand your way of working, understanding what is your culture in your team.
Let me check out.
Okay. Is it better so? Test. Yeah. Always test your equipment before you start with talking, right? Thank you.
Is it better? Yeah.
Okay, great. So, people before technology, understanding your way of working, understanding the culture within your teams, because then we can figure out controls that is seamlessly working in your processes, and you actually see the value about, hey, what can it do for you, and it makes the business more secure. And you actually want to work with it because it makes your work life easier. And that's also why I'm going to do this talk about, and that's also I hope you are going to achieve and acknowledge at the end of the presentation. Just some activities, some processes that you can easily add tomorrow already in your current projects, and getting to know some best practices. So, a little disclaimer here. As you might have known, or already know by now, this presentation is inspired by Pirates of the Caribbean. Unfortunately, I don't owe Pirates of the Caribbean. Disney does. So here, little disclaimer. There are going to be used some images, some reference, and some name from them. Also, keep your questions until the end of the presentation. I will be more likely happy to answer them. And if I can't make all the answers, just find me later on and I will be happy to help you out. So, let's sail out and go on a journey. Imagine yourself in the time of the Pirates of the Caribbean. That's around 7030s, 7050s. And at that time, there were two main ways of transportation. One was by courier and one was by ship. And I was in the business of sailing around the world, gathering supplies and trading them for silver and gold. And I had the most wonderful ship, this one, the HMS Endeavour. It was truly a masterpiece of modern engineering, equipped with luxury artifacts, stunning statues and spacious decks and comfortable cabins. And even the design was perfectly done because the processes were perfect, effective and efficient. Really great. It was almost like, yes, we had to work, but it was almost like we were on a holiday with our crew members. It doesn't feel like working. Really happy with that ship. Unfortunately, at one time, we had an incident. We got hit by a cannonball, and our ship sank to the bottom of the ocean. Luckily enough, me and my crew, all my crew members survived the incident. As you might have known, otherwise I wouldn't be standing here. You might know, dead men tell no stories, right? But I made my crew members a promise at that day. I would keep paying them their salaries because I didn't want this incident to infect their people, their families, their children. And they could still continue to support them. But I want to get back in business quickly. So I had to build a new ship. And I did some research about which ships are there and are very strong and very safe. And I found one. The safest ship on Earth was the Flying Dutchman, this ship. It was truly magnificent. It was loaded with triple cannons, so it could do a massive amount of damage. And it has the ability to dive into the ocean. And somehow, I don't know how, but everyone was still able to be breathing underwater and moving around, just like at the mainland. And they had also the ability to call up on the Kraken, a giant sea monster that destroys every ship it encounters, except for the Flying Dutchman. So truly a magnificent ship, very strong, very secured. But I'm getting already the chills out of my whole body when I have to think that I have to put one single step on this ship with all those rotten wood and alt. It wouldn't be feeling like a vacation anymore. It would really more like a nightmare. But yes, from a security officer perspective, I could say this is a ship we are going to have to use. But I refuse to believe that. We have to find a way to put security and UX and UI putting together. They have to be collaborating, right? But everyone said to me, Mike, that's impossible. They are two different islands, just like day and night, water and fire. Or like Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones, that even the ocean wouldn't be far enough to be separated. And again, I didn't want to believe that. There must be a way. So I did some research. I did some testings myself. And in reality, they are more closely related than you would think. The only thing we have to do is shred those barriers and making sure we are collaborating with each other. How we can do, you might think. First of all, it is about understanding each other's worlds, each other's island, understanding their viewpoints. We are here at the Frontmania, right? So properly now about UX UI, you are performing those duties yourself, or at least you are working closely together. What I actually want to say, you understand these worlds, you're speaking the same language, you work together. But if I look at my time when I was a software engineer, it was the security was always the department that I wanted to avoid the most. I really didn't like them. I could work with everyone except security, because whenever I came out with a new feature that I thought, hey, we should really add that to our solutions, or when I thought about a new technology that is going to be innovative, or hey, a great tool that would make my life much more easier, they always say to me, no, no, and definitely not. It was the department that said no. I called them also that. And that was just because I didn't understand how they looked at security, how they looked at the solutions. Actually, it is just, I just understand it when I did it myself. As a security professional, I understand the viewpoint and I understand why they say no. And actually, it is just a different viewpoint. It is almost like, here guys, I'm from security, you are from engineering, and I write down here on the floor the number 6. On my part of view, it would be a 6. When you are looking at it, it would be a 9. Are we both wrong? No. Are we both right? Yes. It is just looking different at each other. Because most of you might know or don't know about security, what it's really about. Let me tell you very briefly what is security actually about. Security is all about making the business operate smoothly and securely and making sure it works at all times. And maintaining the highest quality as possible and making sure it does exactly what is intended to do and no more and no less. And the information that those solutions have, they make sure you get the information that is available to you and your needs and that you are allowed to at all times. And actually, we get there 3 main pillars, the 3 main pillars of security: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. That are really the things that we are looking at most. And we are looking at all the events that could jeopardize those levels of, those 3 pillars that we are going to, that we want to achieve. And that we call risks. And risk is determined by 2 factors. First of all, likelihood. How likely is it that this event is going to be happening to affect us, our 3 pillars? And the second of all is impact. How big of the impact is it? How much damage is it going to cost us? And I come later on in the presentation with a little example more about it, so you get a more feeling about it. With those 2 things, likelihood and impact, are going to be put in a matrix and you get a risk level. And based on this level, we are going to decide, hey, we are going to accept it, you may continue. Okay, we are going to have some security measures, some mitigation plan about it to reduce the risk level, or we are going to avoid it and you get a blocking error or the so-called no. That's actually just fundamental about security and how we're looking at it. So, enough about this one, about security. We are here from UX UI. So, and how to intersect it with security. And how can we do that? When we are talking about those two concepts, we have to shift it left as far as possible. And most of the people say that is right to the developers, because they are creating these solutions. Even farther left we can go, right? Wrong. We can go farther. We should go as far as possible as the moment the idea has been created. We already have to think about those concepts, about how we're going to interact it with users. What kind of experience do we want them to have? And what about security? And from there on, we are going to continue. And then when you come, guys, it is really great to know what is the goal, what is the idea, why do we want it, what's the purpose of our solutions? Because if we don't know our destination, how can we data mine what we need to build, or what do we need to require? And those goals doesn't have to be conventional. They may be innovative. For example, why does a compass always have to point out where is north? Why shouldn't it be unique? For example, my compass should point out what I desired most. Why does this point out like that? And yes, of course, it isn't. It is a little bit fake. What is it, what we desire the most? How do you measure it? That isn't the problem here right now. The goal is actually like the vision. It is going to direct you to your destination. It's about knowing which direction we are going to move. And when we're going back to my ship that I want to build, for now it is just enough to know I want a ship that is traveling around the world to gather supplies and for trading them for gold and silver. No more, no less, because it's different if you need, for example, a battleship. So when we know the goal, the purpose, then we can actually make it smart, make it more specific with requirements. And those requirements are very important to make sure everyone in your organizations understand exactly what it means. Not, we have an idea, no, knowing exactly what it means. Always ask yourself, is this specific enough? If not, we have to define it more, and otherwise it is good enough. And you can immediately see if those requirements are adding to your goal, to your direction, and if they have added value. For example, when we are going to my shipyard that I want to make, we want one of the fastest ships that are there on Earth, so that my crew members isn't as long as possible away from home. So let's say, at average, it should sail out 35 knots. Okay, that's great. And I also told you I wanted to trade supplies. So I need a cargo. How much cargo do I want? I want to save at least 1,000 standard size of barrels that could contain liquor or herbs, and also some space for machinery for the farming business. So when you know the requirements, you are actually looking at the positive things. What should it be doing? Where should we be going? And people are great at thinking about those things, but people are at one thing better. Actually thinking about the other side of the spectrum, looking at the threats, looking at what problems are we going to face, what challenges are we going to have, what are the roadblocks ahead. And in this case, it doesn't matter if you do it structurally or unstructured. Like, for example, structured. Are you going to hold a threat modeling session, or unstructured, just a brainstorming session? It doesn't matter. Just choose which fits your needs in your way of working. And there are no wrong threats to identify. You can say literally anything that you can see, and that's only better. Because afterwards we are going to look at what's the likelihood, what's the impact to data mine the risk, and see if we have to do something about it. For example, if we are living in the time of the pirates, so piracy is likely. Not so much, because you have to be the same time, same pace, and the ocean is quite big, as you all know. So we are not going to encounter it much. So likelihood low. When we encounter one, they are going to loot us. So we lose all our supplies or gold and silver. Impact maybe average, because there is no damage to the humans, to my crew members. We could still ship So a sail away. So average. That means we sit between the risk level of low and average. And you can do that for all, like also bad for weather's waters, fair storms, sea waves. Those are maybe not so likely, but the impact is way more higher because it can destroy our ships. So, and you have also other things like to take into account, like mechanical failures, technical failures. Also think about your solutions. What can go wrong? And if you know about these things, you can prioritize them based on the risk and see what is going. And when you have the threats identified, you have actually created a full spectrum of the context of your solution. You know exactly what you are going to need to build because you know the purpose. Where are we going? You know what should be added to it. You know the requirements. You know the positive side of it. But you know also the challenges, the threats that are going to be facing properly. And with those, you can create a beautiful design that contains everything. And that's actually how you are already working. Making those beautiful designs, making those beautiful solutions that you are doing it now. Only this time you can do it with the information that you already have about the context, the purpose, and can go even better. The only thing here I can say and can advise you to is ask security colleagues to help you make those designs. And I'm not talking about should we choose the color red or blue, or which corporate identity are we going to use, or the menu box, would put it horizontal or vertical. No, we are looking more at which kind of technology are we going to use, how are we going to deliver our solutions to the customers, and all the other things, which tools are we going to use, for example. And those can help you, with the security, can help you to make it even better. I have here one analogy that I've made for my shipyard. I gave the information, the context, the purpose, the goal, the requirements, and the threats to my designers, and I say, based on this information, make a beautiful ship for me that complies to everything. And they make the ship on the left. It was really nice, real eye-catching. Only thing, it was made out of wood. Yes, it complied to the requirement of being fast, because wood is light, doesn't jeopardize the speed, so we can sail 35 knots at average. Only thing, the same incident can happen again. One good placed cannonball can make our ship sink to the bottom of the ocean. So I say, thank you for your job. I really liked it, but I need also some input from the security people, because don't comply to the threats that I've identified. So I went to the security engineer and I say, make the design better, make it safe. And he said, yes, of course. And they came with a picture on the right. Less stunning. It was made out of steel, so yes, it was safe. A cannonball couldn't do much damage to us, but still very heavy, doesn't require the speed that I wanted to have. And actually here you see the same thing happening all over again. Like in the earlier two ships you saw, the HMS Endeavour, that was beautiful, and the Flying Dutchman, that you wouldn't want one step on it. So here again, and that is not wrong, it is just one person, one viewpoint can't comply to everything, can't think of everything. So when you are going to design, ask a lot of stakeholders, ask the security colleagues, everyone, to deliver some inputs, thinking about how can we tackle this requirement and make it better. Because then you can come to this design when I ask them to collaborate. As you can see, a truly magnificent ship, very eye-catching, even better than the two before. And what was the great thing? It was also immediately secure, because the inner skeleton of the ship was made out of titanium. Titanium is, as you might know, the lightest, but also a very strong material. So it keeps us safe from, for example, for collisions with cannonballs. But also, we use the wood that doesn't jeopardize our speed, but creates a warm, cozy feeling. So here you can see UX, UI, and security work together. Also, big bonus is when the ship hits a cannonball, for example, you still have the wood that is going to be damaged, but it is also easily repairable, because now you only have to repair those, for example, 2 wooden planks that are damaged, instead of repairing the whole component with the other sides. And that is truly magnificent. It saves you time at the future. Now that we have looked at the context, and about the context, about the designs, we can look at the smaller things, the finer things in our solutions, like the processes, for example. And we have looked at it. First of all, you look when you have going to add a new process. Also look at the context again from your solution. Is this process going to have an added value to those contexts? If so, great, implement it. If it don't implement it, because it creates only more complexity. And when you create complexity, your user experience is going to be lesser, and also the interaction is going to be worse. And then we don't even talk about security. That is going to be harder to create the same level. So we should try to make things as simple as possible. The simpler it is, the better user experience you will gain, and the better security you will have. For example, also when you are creating a process, you have said, okay, this epic, this feature, this process is going to be implemented. Great. Then create a storyboard around it. Make sure you illustrate it or textually describe it, what is going to be happening. Tell out the process, because everyone can look at it and can see, hey, what is going wrong? Hey, should we change something? And it's going to be needed to be improved. I have also an example here for. Like on my ship, you have a lot of processes. We take just one process out of it, a cannon drill. So imagine a pirate named Barbossa is coming with his fleet, the Queen's Anne's Revenge, coming to attack us within 5 minutes. That means that we have to be battle ready within 5 minutes, or they're going to shoot. So our crew members have to run to the cannons, push those heavy 30-kilo cannons to their right positions. They have to gather a lot of cannonballs and getting gunpowder, touches, etc. You can imagine when you are at such a slow time, of a short time, you are under a lot of stress. There's a lot of chaos, so the movement patterns aren't optimal. We have tested it. It took them 30 minutes to be battle ready. That means the pirate has 25 minutes of shooting. Already almost a loss. And then we don't even talk about the practice shooting that we did afterwards, because the pirates were exhausted, tired, the crew members. Because of the heavy lifting they have to do. So their shots were like they never shot a cannon before. It was truly horrible to see. And here you can see that the UX UI isn't great. It isn't user-friendly, but also not secure, because you will definitely lose against the pirates. So I said, we have to optimize this process. So that is where we came with the new idea, to put on rails over the whole ship, to make sure the movement patterns are there, so they are optimal, they are efficient, and they don't have to think about it, the crew members. And also, for example, the 30-kilo cannon, when it is moving, yes, they have to still push it, the 30 cannon, but when it's moving, you have momentum. So it is getting easier. Now, we have tested it. It took them 10 minutes right now to be battle ready, so much more easier. And they also were less exhausted. They were less tired, so their shooting was way better. It was acceptable. Not perfectly flawless, but acceptable. But yet, 5 minutes of the pirate that can shoot freely without we can do anything because we aren't ready. So I say, this is way better, but not optimal. Can we do it even better? Yes, we can. And that is, we have to automate as much as possible here. Because pushing a cannon to a right position doesn't require human intelligence. And everything that doesn't require human intelligence should be automated. It is also like the best example here I can give you. If I say here in the room, the first one who writes within an hour 10,000 the time, the easy word, 100, will get $1 million from me. Now, you will start off. First off, your handwriting will be nice, great quality. But when the clock ticks down, you will get more sloppy. And eventually you will misspell even the word 100 a few times. Can we be mad about it? Can we be angry about it? No. It is just making us human. We can't perform always the same quality over and over again, especially when it is a task that is going to be repeated or you're under stress or chaos. So no human intelligence means we should automate it. And that's why we came up with the next process. Just one crew member has to walk to the motherboard, push one button, and all the cannonballs, all the cannons, gunpowder and touches will be automatically put at position. And the crew members can just walk to their position and mentally prepare for battle. We tested it. It was just 1 minute to be battle ready. That means they have 4 minutes to put their mind at work and they can focus on their duty, on their human intelligent task. And the aiming was flawless, spot on, perfect. Means definitely win. And the best part, the crew members weren't exhausted. They were just relaxed. They didn't have to do the heavy work. So here, really automate as much as possible. And also this process, if you have a use story, if you have a process that you have to go and define, make those illustrations again. And don't assume you have at first the best solution. Go few times, go over it a few times. It will getting better and better. Always ask yourself, is this the best we can do about the user experience? Is this the best we can do about maintaining the quality that we want to achieve? If you say yes, think a little bit more, and then it's fine. All those measures can only be thought of when you're going to put it in your designs first. If you think about it, because you can imagine, if you have a ship already in place and you have to automate everything, that actually means you have to rebuild the whole ship over again. You can't just add it on. You have to integrate it in your solutions. And that's also in your applications, in your solutions that you are building. The greatest measures, the greatest controls, the greatest user experience are thought of at the beginning and integrated from the beginning on. Now we have talked about the context, the vision part, and also about how are we going to design these processes, these architecture. That left us with one thing, because we have done the thinking part. We can go to the action. And for that, I have also a few best practices for you that you can use actually by tomorrow. Very simple. And yeah, those I call the golden rules of the sea. The first one, expect the expected. Very strange. Normally you would say expect the unexpected. But I will say why you should think about the expected part. Because every process, every input, everything actually on your solution, when you are going to make it down and break it down, is going to require a lot of input, a lot of requirements before you can do it. You have to perform some actions. You have to provide them information, data. And if you know exactly what you need, what you expect, then you can determine the result. You can know exactly what the result will be. That is actually your happy flow, right? When you put in a number, you expect a number output, and that will, if it is 1 plus 1, you expect always 2. And that is an expected result. You can actually verify it. And you can think of the expected result, the happy flow. You can always think about that one. You know that actually because of all the thinking part you've done. But the unexpected part, you don't know all the ways, all the threats that are going to be having. You can't think about everything. There's always some corner, some stone you are left unturned. And that's why you have to know what you expect. Make sure only what you expect will be allowed and everything else will be disallowed. That is the most optimal solution, because then you get the guaranteed quality that you expect as a result. And that brings us down to the golden rule, number 2. Regular expressions are your ally. Because with a lot of information. You have also a lot to verify. And really, regular expressions are really great for that because they are the fastest way to validate, but they can do it also at 2 layers. They can do it as value, but also as format. So really great. Only when I talk to the most people, they say, yeah, we are using that. We are using that, for example, for the emails, telephone numbers, dates, bank accounts, etc. But not for everything. But it is, and that is because those examples that I said we are using it are actually known patterns. They are usable. You can search them on the internet and you can just grab it and it works immediately. But when you have to construct it yourself, it is always hard. But yes, if you're looking at the whole pattern, it is hard to see how it is working. But when you break it down in smaller pieces, it's actually quite easy and easy to read and know how it works. This is an oversimplified pattern that I'm going to use for the regular expression to scrape down websites, web shops, to see where I can buy my cannonballs for my ship. In the first part, you see the \d. That means that we are looking for digits, so actually numbers. And within the curly brackets behind it, we determine how many numbers are we going to expect. In this case, you see in 1 and 2. That means that everything between 0 and 99 will be allowed. 100 will be disallowed. Then you see a the dot. That means that we are expecting a decimal in this case. So behind the comma. And then \d plus. That means that we expecting at least one number behind the comma dot. And it doesn't matter how much. It can be 100 decimals. It can also be thousands, 10,000 decimals. Doesn't matter. We don't specify how long it should be. With the question mark, we expect, we say it doesn't matter what is in. There can be 0 characters, there can be 100 characters or more. It can be symbols, can be numbers. Doesn't matter what there has to be in it, in between. But it should end with \b. That means that we are going to looking at the string value with, and then the kg. So we're looking at the kilograms. And then also the after part, the size of the cannonball. In the same way, only this time also with a fixed value. So when you validate those information and also done controls like sending a form, you always notify the customer if it is successful or if they did something wrong. There's an error. But be specific about it as much as possible. So if we're looking at the successful part, say especially what is going to be happening. What did they do? Hey, they sent a form. Okay, we have saved your record in the database. Or when we send you an email, say just we send you an email. Be very specific about it. Most of the time that is already happening. But when we're looking at the errors, I don't know about you, but when I look at a solution, when I'm going to a website and I fill in form wrongly, I just get the message, something went wrong. And I'm thinking, what went wrong? Did I do something wrong? Is it on your part the error? Is it because I didn't provide the right information? I did something wrong? Don't leave the customer hanging. Make sure they are guided to their happy flow. Be specific about it. So for example, when I when I filled in about the gunpowder, you should know gunpowder is based on 3 elements. 75% of nitrogen, 50% of carbon, and 10% of sulfur. That is the normal mixture of gunpowder. But when I add, for example, 77% of nitrogen, then you should get the message, hey, put 1% of sulfur, 1% of carbon to your mixture, or remove just 2% of your nitrogen. So you guide them exactly to their happy flow. One exception here, when we are talking about sensitive information, for example, a login page, if someone puts a correct username but a wrong password, don't say, for example, I changed the first B to a C because then you are logged in. Please don't. That will be awful. That is the only exception here. It's sensitive information. But gunpowder mixture is just common information. You can just look it on the internet. So we can say that. That's the only exception. I can't say it enough. Sensitive information. be a little bit fake, like the login. Your password or email is wrong. That would be sufficient enough. But then we can go to the second part of it. Most of the time, we send those information to the customer that they did something wrong, or that they succeeded when the form has been sent. Make sure they know it as early as possible that they do something wrong. For example, when they type in the input field, immediately validate already with the first character if they do something, if it is what you expected or not, and guide them through the process. Say, for example, what kind of range are you expecting? Which kind of characters are you looking? What is the length? And show them immediately if they do something wrong, but also when they is completed and successful. This is what you expected. And make sure you don't send anything wrong to the backend, because most of the time when I talk to the front enders, they say to me, Mike, why should we validate so much on the front end? Because we are using an API that can, the front end can be bypassed, and the backend is going to validate everything for us, right? Yes, that's true. But we can figure out security measures, controls so it won't be able to bypass the front end, and you have to go through it, and you can't directly connect to the API. But also, again, when you send something you don't expect to the API, to the backend, it could be malicious, it could be just a misspelled number, but at least there is a danger, and when there is danger, you can guarantee the results you are getting back. So that could be just you getting wrong information. There's something went wrong, error, but it can also be very badly and some insecurity incidents. So that's why you always have to validate also at the front end and make sure you don't send the wrong input. And then we come to the last golden rule. What if JavaScript was abandoned? Now, we all know at the websites you can disable JavaScript. But there are also, probably in your stack, there are also rules that customers, users, can disable some parts of it. Make sure your user experience, your user interactions isn't so light on just one thing. Make backups of it. For example, when you build your JavaScript, your interaction in JavaScript, you can easily have your backup scenarios in HTML, but also in CSS. Here's an example that you can use in your input field or about interaction with regular expressions, but then used in HTML. Just the attribute pattern, and then in the tag input, and you have the same. When JavaScript is disabled, immediately your HTML will take it over. And you have, oh sorry, I see someone wants a picture. I will go back. You're welcome. But you have also those examples in CSS, right? You can add properties with full stop, valid, invalid, required, and you can add some extra set of CSS rules or SAS rules or any others. When your JavaScript is disabled, this will hit in. And that is just making sure you have a backup failure. You don't rely on one thing. And that, by that, we come to the closing part of this presentation. So what I want to say to you, actually, make sure when you are building a solution, or make sure you understand the full context. So that means understanding the goal, the purpose, where are we going? What are the requirements? What are the threats? And then make the designs about it. Make sure you make the process about it. Illustrate it. Go a few times over it, making it better. Always ask yourself, what can I do better? Make sure everything that doesn't require human intelligence will be automated. And think about those golden rules to implement it yourself. So it keeps safe, and you can guarantee the results that you want, and you can uphold the quality of your beautiful solutions. That being said, I want to thank you for your joining our journey of sailing the waters using UX, UI reinforced by security. I hope you have gained valuable insights from this presentation. Let's now sail out safely together and navigate through those waters. I have here some references for you to go more in technical details about some topics. For example, the requirements, what to think about it, how do you threat modeling, some more about how can you do regular expressions, how it's working, and a book where I hear great stories about it. So once again, thank you for listening. And if there are any questions, I will be happy to answer them.